Greetings, Slackers. September Man here on December 8th, 2017, with another article I want to share with you. And this is something that happens quite a bit to especially a lot of men out here these days. The frequency certainly suggests that there's an increase. And the reason why I'm reading this is to help prevent you from being a victim and being victimized. And this article contains a key word. It's one of my favorite words, and I'm going to go into detail on it. But this has everything to do with you and what influences you. And this is over on Local 10. Pembroke Pines, woman carjacks man she lured with promise of sex, deputies say. Janelle Gillette, Isaiah White, arrested in connection with November 20th carjacking. By Peter Burke. Tamarack, Florida. A Pembroke Pines woman lured a man whom she met online with the promise of sex and robbed him, stealing his car and personal belongings, deputies said. Janelle Gillette, 19, was arrested in connection with the November 20th carjacking. According to a Broward Sheriff's Office arrest report, the victim had been communicating with a woman, later identified as Gillette, on the dating website Plenty of Fish. She arranged to meet with him for sex at a home in Tamarack. When the man arrived, he saw Gillette standing near the back of the house. As soon as the victim followed her to the back, a man holding a shotgun appeared, held it to the victim's head, and demanded the keys to his Kia Soul. Gillette and the gunman got into the car and sped away, driving off with the victim's iPhone and wallet. I was in the house and I heard someone scream, and I poked my head out of the front door and all the neighbors came outside too. A neighbor who did not want to be identified said. The victim told deputies that the woman on her Plenty of Fish profile was no doubt 100% the same woman involved in the carjacking. Deputies said one of Gillette's Facebook pictures was the same photo used on her Plenty of Fish profile. The victim's car was found abandoned the next day in Pompano Beach. Deputies said surveillance video showed the shotgun-toting man, later identified as Isaiah White, wiping down both door handles as if he was trying to get rid of any fingerprints. Deputies said Gillette confessed to being there during the carjacking, but she said the gunman forced her to drive to Pompano Beach, where she parked the car. White was arrested days after Gillette. Both are being held in jail without bond. So, there you have it. There's a couple of sections of this article I wanted to focus on. So, let's start with the title here. This man was lured with the promise of sex. Now, how often is it that you start talking with someone on an online dating site, app, or even over social media, and the nature of the conversation gets sexual? And as it progresses, photos are shared, stories are shared, motivations and aspirations are shared, talking about all the things you want to do and, the back and forth small talk. Well, sometimes that little chit chatter has the ability to influence, push us over the edge. Why? Because it installs in our mind that, you know what, there's the opportunity of sex here. Just as this woman lured him with the promise of sex. So I'm assuming and I'm guessing here that the conversation got sexual at some point. And, these criminals out here who have an agenda, who have ill intent, they already know what wavelength the victim is operating on. And so if you're one of these guys out here who's on a dating website and, you putting so much pressure on yourself to meet someone, and you're putting emphasis on especially sending out these copy and paste messages, guess what you're doing? You are setting yourself up because those copy and paste messages, guess what? Some of those profiles that you sent it to could have been fake, and it was just a crook waiting to get you. It's almost like landing in a spider's web. Have you ever seen a bug of some kind land in a black widow's web? And then you see the black widow scurry on out. And it didn't really have to do anything. It just set the trap. And once the bug got caught in that trap, at that point, it was over. It was a wrap. The spider was in control. So, a lot of you guys have got to work on something, and that is what motivates you and what influences you, i.e., what can lure you, because that can be used against you. And here's the definition of what it says lure means, just so you have an idea. And it says here, anything that attracts, entices, or allures, the power of attracting or enticing. I'm just going to, scroll down real quick and give you one more, because this is under the verb section. And here's what that says. To attract, entice, or tempt, allure. Okay? So basically saying the same thing, but, one is just the word and the noun itself. The other is the action. And what you got to pay attention to here is the action. What is the action that attracts and entices? That is the sexual chatter. That is possibly the revealing photos. Okay? And it's all head game. And so, one of you guys, if you want to be a master of game, you got to master your own head game. One of the keys to mastering your own head game is learning about yourself and what propels you, what compels you. So that way you can minimize those influences and you can stand tall because you won't fall head over heels and fall for some trick, which often guys do, just because what happens, there's like this struggle between the head and the penis, okay? And so one of them is fighting for influence. One is like, hey, yeah, let's go get it. Let's do it. We're horny. Let's do it. And the mind is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's be rational. Let's, safety first, okay? And so what ends up happening is penis wins out, okay? It overpowers the reasoning and the logic because it wants what it wants. But we have to learn how to dial that back and, give the penis a pep talk. That's right, a penis pep talk. Why? So that way we can put it in check. You and the penis got to be on the same page. If you're not, guess what? You'll be fighting yourself and you'll go out here 9 times out of 10 listening to it and you will get yourself in some trouble. That's just an insight that I can share with you personally, okay? So, moving on to another part of this article I wanted to focus on. The victim met this woman off of Plenty of Fish. Often you hear about crimes like this, of this nature, with Craigslist, but this happened on Plenty of Fish. Don't go out here using these dating apps and dating sites thinking that, well, this won't happen to me if I'm not using this one. You have equal amounts of the same chance of things going wrong and you coming across a scammer, a fake profile, a fraudster of any kind, no matter what site you use. It's just a part of the game. So you want to be smarter. You want to take your time more. You want to talk and you want to actively listen, okay, for bits and pieces of the story. You don't want to just fall heads over heels if someone sends you a picture that allures and attracts you. You want to be able to be reasonable and say, oh yeah, that's nice, and keep it moving, almost as if to not let it slow you down or become something of significance, which a lot of men do. I myself included, so that's why I'm speaking on it. Moving on to the next section I want to talk about here. And that is the stupidity of these criminals. This woman was dumb. The same picture that she had up on Facebook was the same picture that she had up on plenty of fish. Now, one of the things that a lot of people don't know is when you use these dating platforms, even Craigslist, everything is data-based, everything is indexed. So you create a posting that's indexed somewhere in a database. Doesn't matter about the duration of how long it lasts. If you're on a dating website, that dating profile information is stored in a database. So this woman working with this guy, and I'm assuming that he's weak-minded because a lot of men are weak-minded and they can be talked into things by women. And here's where I'm gonna go with this, because originally she lured and set him up, right? The victim, to take the car. Then they went for a joyride and dropped the car off at the beach. The man who was caught wiping fingerprints off, okay, from some, video or whatever, she turned around and blamed it on him and said that, well, he had the gun and so he was holding me hostage and he told me to drive it here. Like, that's going to let her out of the severity of the criminal offense. That could be true, but I'm leaning toward thinking that no, it's not true. She was an accomplice. She was in on this. And the male, he was most likely talked into this. And at the same time, she was using the promise of sex to lure victims online. She might have also been using the promise of sex to lure the accomplice who had the gun. This is just my thoughts. It's a little tangent. I'm just, dissecting pieces of the story. I know how guys act. I know how, women behave or whatnot. But what are your thoughts on this? Leave that for me down in the comment section below. The link to this will be down in the description box. And as always, that's going to do it for this article and this video. I'll catch you in the next one. Did you enjoy this video and find it informative? Subscribe to the Slackers Method and click the bell icon next to the subscribe button to receive all the latest notifications for when I upload new videos.